see. Yes, yes, yes. We are going live now. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, there might have been a little hiccup getting the live stream actually started. I'm assuming everybody can hear me now. If you're watching the archive, you'll be able to you'll have this. I'll edit all this out. Oh yes, the live stream has started. We've got so many amazing folks happening here in the chat. Where are we calling from? Chat room, where are we coming from all over the world? Like I said, it's really good to see Keshkow, Miss Juju Beats, Patrick, Chris, Jeff, Mrs. 52Qs, Yuka is hanging out with us. Jathan Sparks, the Jathan Sparks hanging out with us. We've got Tylen Jones. Really good to see Tylen, man. What is happening? I hope all is well. And Tylen is one of my former students at Full Sail. Matter of fact, Chris, Mad About Nothing, is a former student. We've got lots of Full Sailors in the house here today. We are calling from Hamburg, Germany. We've got Ma Ann from Austria. Really good to be with everybody today. So the order of presentation today, we've got Enrico, we've got Colin, we've got Eric, Lisa, Patrick, Ms. Juju Beats, Keshkow, Claudio, and Martin. That's going to be the order of service here today. We've got Salt Lake City, Utah. We've got Mark Morganshaw in the house. What is good? Mark, it's really good to see you. Really good to see you today. So like I said earlier, what we're doing today is live feedback, just like feedback that I give for the community, for our family members. We have feedback sessions twice a week, every Tuesday and Thursday, for the most part, unless it's a day like today, where we will have a 2-hour Tuesday session. But I believe that feedback is not only the cornerstone of the 52Qs community, it is the best, most effective way for you to improve your craft, to learn about sustainable creativity, because sometimes it's just best to get another set of ears, on your cues. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. This first one we have is from Enrico. And Enrico sent along a cue called Nomad's Market Song, which is a traditional Chinese folk music cue. I've been working towards an album for a library which has shown an interest in it, steep learning curve, and obvious Western musician influences in a different cultural musical idiom. Being heterophonic in nature, it's very difficult to not play chords. I'm particularly interested to hear if this works as a sync cue with the limitations the genre proposes. So a traditional Chinese folk cue. Let's take a listen to it and then we'll talk about it. right, that was Nomad's Market song from Enrico. What is good, Enrico? Enrico's out in northern Italy, and I gotta say, and I've said this before the other day, I've just been blown away by the Olympics and how gorgeous northern Italy is, and so we've been really enjoying that. Anyway, thank you so much for sending that along. If you've got some thoughts for Enrico, go ahead and you can leave it there live in the chat, or if you just want to give Enrico some flowers, that's cool too. We're going to be keeping the chat on the screen so folks can see what other folks are writing. And so I really liked this, but I've got to say, I think the vocals, and maybe I don't know enough about Chinese folk music, the vocals sounded not as Chinese as I thought. Of course, the scale is D Mongolian, and I think if we're thinking kind of Western China, maybe I don't know. Once the erhu kicked in, I was like, okay, yeah, here we are. The drums sounded a little taiko-y, which is going to put us on the Japanese islands, and so but we have the koto or guzheng, I guess. And these, we like to put like music on a geographical map and say, here are the lines, and this is Chinese, and this is Japanese, and this is, Middle Eastern, and this is Central Asian. But music, just like cuisine and just like fashion, is a gradient. And so even though we might say this is Chinese and this is Japanese, the truth is that there's a lot of DNA that some of these instruments and even some of the scales and harmonies share. So we put them in a box, we put them on a map, but a koto and a guzheng have a lot of very similar DNA. The vocals could have been a little wetter, a little bit more reverb, and sat back in the mix just a little bit. And this is what Mark was saying in the chat, that I could imagine this with the vocals pushed way back. But yeah, in my mind, I'm kind of imagining like a very rural Western Chinese kind of setting, like a travel show. It's mixed immaculately, other than the vocals being a little up front. Really like the mix. I think that's going really well. I'm not a fan of the major chord there at the end. That felt a little weird. That felt a little weird. Probably wouldn't do that. And our peaks, from a mixing standpoint, our peaks were a little low. We were -3. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, I think that really, really worked. So I'm looking back over the brief. Obviously, like you said, Western music influences in a different cultural idiom. It's the main takeaway is that the vox, the vocals are kind of pulling it out of China proper. Again, I could be way off base. I haven't done a deep ethnomusicological study of Chinese traditional. But if I were a music supervisor looking for quote unquote traditional Chinese music, I'm not sure that I would peg this as traditional Chinese, even though culturally it might be there. It sounds, like I said, more Western Chinese. Is that a Dizi flute? Is that the lower one? Yeah, Patrick was wondering where we got the vocal samples. Mrs. 52Qs says Survivor. Yeah, Inyuka says, to me, the female vocals sound a little bit Japanese. Can't explain why. Yeah, there's some vocal trilling that feels a little... And you hear that in Indian music. You hear that in Middle Eastern music where like tonic is kind of unmoored from the 12 semitones in an octave. And you also hear this in Native American music, and in which case, the Native American, as well as Native tribes up in Canada, came from Eastern Asia. And so, but at the end of the day, I really liked this. I liked the title, Nomad's Market. Do be careful about using apostrophes in titles. Same with like other punctuation, is they will all often get stripped out. And so you just something to watch out for. But Enrico, thank you so much for sending that along, man. Really do appreciate that. And congratulations, man. Let us know what happens with that one. All right, next up, we've got one from Colin. What's happening? Looks like Sean has joined us. Welcome. Colin sent over Stalker's Steps, which is a dark crime drama tension cue. All right, so this is Stalker's Steps. We're going to take a listen to it, and then we'll talk about it. All right, that was Stalker's Steps from Colin. Colin, thank you so much for sending this along. Again, this is a dark crime drama tension. There's a lot that's really working in this cue for me. I think the I think that's working really well. And for a crime type of a tension cue, they're putting puzzle pieces together. They're looking for clues and that kind of thing. I think that is the gold of this. Yeah, I think this is really nice. Starting here at the top, I thought we were in really good shape. Love the piano. I think this is working well. The piano's a little muffly sounding. It could be a hair brighter. And I think the strings came in a little strong. My rule of thumb is, unless you're doing like a drone tension cue, any kind of investigative crime type cue where you have pulses and moving parts, they're almost always going to take precedent, which means that sustained parts need to be pulled down in the mix. Yeah, that string's way down. And I wouldn't bum. I would wait, just pedal on the pedal on the F sharp. And then you can have a little bit more motion in and out. And don't put. You had that suspended cymbal. That was a little weird. It came in a weird spot. I would do. Yeah, I would put it right. I would put it right here, and not before. Put it going into this edit point. Right. I think that's really working. That's a nice intro. Careful of the bass. The low end got a little away from us. Yeah, I would definitely tamp it down. The strings down in the mix. And if we're going to shift tonal centers like this, which I think is really working, let's prepare that by adding a little whoosh, some kind of motion into that tonal shift. And I think we need another gear of energy here. If this were mine, I'd start adding a little bit more percussion, or if you didn't want to add percussion, keep the percussion out of the first half of this second section, and then add it and bring it back in the mix. Yeah, I dig that key change, that tonal shift. All right, and we've got two edit points here, and they are both cliffhanger edit points. We have, and here we have another one. I would make sure that this lands and that we have a suspended cymbal or something kind of whooshing over it, so that it's like a wave crashing onto the shores and then kind of going up to the sands and then pulling back a little bit. That's how I would do that. And then the waters recede. And I was ready to like camp out in this vibe for a little while. And then we have another unresolved edit point here. So in the span of a minute and 9 seconds, we have two big edit points and another kind of pseudo edit point. And so if this were mine, I would camp out in this. Just cook on this, simmer on this for a bit. And then when we get to this section, I feel like we have really shifted mood and shifted emotion. Remember, if we think that mood and emotion is governed by instrumentation, harmonic language, rhythmic language, as well as melody usage, if those are the levers that we are pulling to establish mood and emotion, then if our job is, as production music composers, is to maintain a mood or emotion throughout, then if we pull too many of those levers mid-cue, then it's going to sound like we have shifted emotion out. And that's what we've got going on here. We got new instrumentation. We got new harmonic language. The pulse has really changed because we went from which is chef's kiss. It's perfect. That is perfect kind of crimey tension thing. But here at the end, I feel like we've pulled too many of the levers. I would keep the boom, 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 and I would probably add a bass pulse to it. Something like that. We want more of a rhythmic engine, and we've kind of pulled back the rhythmic engine here. Right? I hear a little bit of rhythm, but I feel like so if this were mine, again, I would camp out here a little bit longer. I would heighten this up and not bury all the pulsing energy down. Drive it. Yeah, the end feels a little artistic, if you will, for lack of a better term. My whole kind of artisan versus artist, the artisan brain. This is artist brain. Or just drive, boom. And probably not a decelerando or a retardando. Yeah, that might be tough for an editor to use, but really, really do appreciate you. Somebody said in the chat, definitely it's tension, but I'm not sure it's dark tension, and I agree with that. It's investigation, I think, but as far as being dark tension, I'm not sure somebody editing a dark crime show where there's like grisly crime scenes and they have to blur out the bodies and that kind of thing. I'm not sure they're reaching for this. It seems a little bit more, not quite intriguey, just a little bit more thought-provoking, a little bit more cerebral, I guess. So, but thanks for sending that along. Really, really do appreciate it. All right, next up, we got one from Eric, and Eric sent along Marching to Gloria. Gloria. This is for the Halloween Sync Accelerator. So what we have going on right now in the community is we have a brief looking for Halloween dramedy cues, and we've been writing these all month long. And at the end of the month, we're going to have a feedback derby where I will listen to them and offer feedback, and then we will select the best and we will pitch them to actual real libraries. And so that is the Sync Accelerator. It is a perk of our family and friends subscribers. So this is Marching to Gloria. All right, that was Marching to Gloria. I would change the title from Marching to Gloria to Marching to Glory. Glory, because we march to glory. Eric, thank you so much for sending this along. I think there's some really good bones here. The bam 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 bam, I think, is a really good kind of dramedy-esque type of a hook. And I think our instrument choices were spot on, like the use of the theremin. I like that it's not kind of overdone, and we had some other kind of creepy things going on. But I think there are some form and some quantization and rhythm things which are going to be really, really difficult for an editor to kind of get their brain around. Because I'm having, somebody mentioned it there in the chat, kind of finding it hard where the rhythm lies, like having a hard time kind of feeling where one is. And I call this like rhythmic vertigo. Like if you're not kind of sure where you are in the form, then your mind will try to kind of like latch onto something. human beings are exceptionally good at recognizing patterns, and musicians are exceptionally good, and we spend so much of our career looking for patterns in music. And so as a drummer, as soon as I hear these, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to like kind of find the rhythm. And then I'm like, okay, all right. So we're like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 but wait, now I'm like, oh, am I off? So we want to make sure that we have predictable phrasing, predictable layering that is challenge with dramedy cues is it has to be quirky, right? It has to have weird kind of quirky, off-kilter kind of things. And so this is why in a lot of my dramedy cues, I will put backbeats in the cue. That's going to kind of solidify where 2 and 4 is. And I could get really creative with some of the syncopation in the melody. So I'm not sure if we're in 3 here. And so it's really hard feeling kind of where the form is. Again, like the instrumentation, I think we're in good shape. Like, woo, woo, that's perfect. Do watch some of the highs here. We're getting pretty crispy in the hi-hat. We've even got a few things spiking at 25K. Let's be careful. But the timing and the form, I feel, really needs to be kind of locked in. Yep. And quantization. We want to make sure that everything is kind of locked to the beat. And here at the end, we have kind of an accelerando. That's going to be really, really tough for an editor to kind of lock into. Now, it could be like, they're like, yes. And if you were going to put an accelerando like this into any kind of cue, then 100% a dramedy cue is the best likely candidate. But this is going to be really, really tough for an editor to use. Probably wouldn't use it. If anything, this feels like scored, meaning like there's picture that I'm not seeing. And yep, so timing and that kind of thing I think needs some help. Yeah, so be careful with that. I'm just not sure that an editor is going to have an easy time with those kind of things. But Marching to Gloria, I think it's a great title. Really do appreciate you sending that along. Thank you so much, Eric. Yeah, man, well done. Really well done. Thank you for sending that along. And I wanted to say here on the front end that for anybody who is getting their music listened to and getting feedback, there's no small element of trust, right? There's no small element of courage, and you kind of have to put yourself out there. And so a huge shout out to all these folks sending along cues. So it's one thing to like get feedback one-on-one. It's another thing to get feedback like in a Zoom room with people that you know really well. It's another thing to put yourself out there and get feedback on YouTube in front of the internet to see. And so a huge shout out to everybody sending music. I meant to say this at the top of the episode, but really, really do appreciate you. And that's one of the ways that getting feedback helps, right? Is because you start to learn how to receive feedback. And for folks who are listening and offering feedback, that also helps, because when you give feedback, you are connecting like creative neurons in your brain. And I think it's a fantastic way to supercharge your analytical ear. So really, really, really appreciate all of you. All right, next up, we've got one from Lisa, and Lisa sent a cue called Daydreaming. She says, "Hi, Dave, you've heard this before. This is one for my piano storytelling album. It's supposed to be the first one of the album, and you had a big note We both agreed that the piano sound was too dark compared to the other cues. I drove a lot of pianos this week and settled on the Maverick. I think it's warm and bright. I also tend to balance the left hand of the piano against the bass EQ-wise and repedaled the piano performance to give it a bit more air and less mud. Fixed the mix and tried to get it a little bit louder. I didn't realize this Thursday was live. If this isn't appropriate for podcast review, no, it's totally good. Nope. And this is a cue that I've worked with Lisa on one-on-one before, and I think we've listened to it in the feedback sessions. So we're going to take a listen to Daydreaming, and then we will talk about it. You know what? Really quick, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to normalize all of these. I'm going to normalize all of them to -1. There we go. Oh, let me try that again. There we go. All right. All right, let's take a listen to it, and then we will talk about it. All right, that was Daydreaming from Lisa. Lisa, thank you so much for sending this along. An absolutely gorgeous piano programming, and I've gushed plenty all on your I've gushed about your piano programming, and really, really well done. I think the Maverick's a perfect choice. If I'm not mistaken, is the Maverick the upright piano? It has that kind of intimacy to it that I think is working really, really, really well here. One thing about whether it's pianos or even marimbas, let's watch out when we have notes which are in thirds around 500 hertz or so, and this is going to put us around kind of around middle C, a little bit below middle C, I guess. You know, C3, C4, that area. Just might want to tuck back a little bit, probably with a dynamic EQ. If this were mine, I would put a little dynamic EQ right around 500 hertz. Because those frequencies, as soon as you start playing double stops or thirds in that frequency, again, marimbas, vibraphones do the very same thing. They start sounding like they're clipping. It's got to be something in just the physics and the science of this instrument. It happens in VSTs. It also happens in recorded vibraphone and recorded marimba, and it can happen in the pianos as well. And so I think just a 500 hertz or so notch, just to kind of tuck those back just a little bit. And well done with the pedaling. There was one weird pedaling thing I kind of caught around 1 minute. Yeah, that's right. It's the da da da. Da ba, it sounds unusually staccato. Right, and so just I would go in there and make sure that the note kind of connects to it, so it's not da da da, because it sounded more like an error than it did a choice. And if it's a choice, awesome. If it is a choice, then those choices need to be elsewhere in the cue. Otherwise, it sounds a little bit out of place. We did have a couple of resonances pop out. That high melody, and I'm going to turn this off for now. Yeah, that guy right there. This is going to be right around. Fantastic harmonic choices. Really, really like these. But right around 1,000 hertz or 1K, that melody is popping out just a little bit. And I don't know if EQ is the answer as much as just pull the velocities down just a hair so they're kind of settling into the mix a little bit better. And we could probably get away with some retardandos or rallentandos here just to kind of slow the tempo down. You know, it's a storytelling cue. It is a piano-driven cue. Dun, bum, bum. All right, and so if you pull the tempo back just a little bit, because these are emotional storytelling cues, and that gives us permission to do some tempo gymnastics here. Slow it down, right? And then when we pick things back up, that's going to feel like a lot of motion. That's going to be really a nice change. Yeah, personally, I don't like that dominant 7 chord here, especially with the flute like sitting on the flat 7. I will almost always defer to a 4/3 suspension there instead of a 5/7 to 1. It just feels, I think the academic term is cheesy, and I'm not calling your cue cheesy. I am calling that dominant 7 sound in the middle of such a luscious cue just feels unnecessarily, yeah. I don't know if modern is, it doesn't sound very modern. I mean, and then I say that, and then I'm like, okay, what about like Purple Rain has a big dominant 7 chord in it, so yeah. All right, I think we're working really well here. This is really, really nice. And you've done such a good job with your strings. They're breathing in and out. They sound so natural. And they're there as the supporting character. 2, 3, 4. I don't think we need that. I would tuck that in a little bit and just 1, 2, 3, and have that start back in right there. 2, 3, and I would put that melody up the octave. So, you know, your hands are spreading out wider. Yeah, Mrs. 52 cues. Yeah, that nailed it. It sounds too functional. It sounds like a 5/7 to 1 sounds like good. Your theory teacher would be proud. 5/7, you know, the tritone is resolving, the 7 is going up, the 4 is going down. Good job. Yeah, and Productio said a dominant 7 creates tension, which feels distracting. Right, yeah, that tritone resolving, it does create tension, whereas a 4-3 creates a sense of tension, but it feels a little more like a warm bath. But admittedly, this is probably just my own hang up, right? So I honestly, probably not, a library is probably not going to listen to that and go, well, I'd put it in my library, or I'd sign it, or I'd put it on TV, if only if it weren't for that dang dominant 7 chord. Yeah, I think this is all working really well. And I would put a rallentando here. Bum, 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 bum. Yep, yeah, absolutely. And can we have a string playing the 3rd down there? I think that would be really nice. But thank you so much, Lisa, for sending that along. Really do appreciate you. Lots of love there in the chat. What's up, Arco? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Let's see. Nathan says beautiful melody. And there's a suggestion about putting a little bit more reverb on the melody itself, just to have it kind of pop out a little bit. Not pop out, but just have a little bit more ambience to it. But Lisa, beautiful work. You know, I'm a huge fan of your piano stuff, and I really, really enjoyed that. All right, next up, we've got one from Patrick. Patrick sent along a taxi listing, or one for taxi. It's called Evasion. From a taxi brief looking for tension trailer instrumentals. And some of the references were True Detective, Prisoners, The Guilty, looking for trailers that build suspense, unease, and intensity, designed to fit movie trailers, TV promos, 3-act trailer style, tension-filled. They are looking for strings, pulsing synths, synth basses, orchestral percussion, hybrid sound design, impacts, risers, rhythmic pulses. And okay, all right, so this is Evasion. I think Patrick's hanging out with us in the chat. What is happening, Patrick? Here we go. Let's take a listen. Oh, let me fix the EQ here. All right, off we go for real. right, that was Evasion from Patrick. Thank you so much, Patrick, for sending that along. Really, really enjoyed this one. And I think there's a lot going right here from some of the trailer kind of synths and horns and stuff. I think are really, really cool. And I love the signature sound. You could almost start the cue with this. 2, 3, 4, boom. I think that's a much stronger start than this. This is cool, right? But this grabs your attention. All right, so we're at 120. And I'm gonna go ahead and put this onto the grid. And I just wanna see what it sounds like. Let's take this over here and let's put you back over here. And let's see what that would sound like if we did that. One, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 3, let's get that back up to here. That's a much stronger start. Comes out of the gate, you've got these, that sound is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And you got that sonar ping kind of thing happening, which I think is working really well. Now, the string sound you've got going, the synth strings, I'm not sure about that. I'm not going to pull up the references because we're on YouTube live here and it'll get like flagged for copyrights and all that kind of stuff. But it sounds a little analog-y. And it could be that the references themselves have this in it, but I wasn't a fan of that. Everything, now I don't know what I would change. Maybe it needs to be darker, maybe some glide in between it, you know, maybe some pitch bend, so we're kind of pushing it just like a quarter tone out of tune. But some really good sound design here. And if you haven't, consider bringing this to Monday's trailer review with Randon, because I'd like to get his take on it. The sub drop, we've got 2 sub drops, and they're the same sample. Don't make me Dikembe Mutombo, like Yeah, and if you're going to do this, then connect it. It kind of peters out a little bit, and I would absolutely connect them here. So it's like Neo dodging bullets, and then wham, and pitch bend that horn. I like the, I love that we're bringing that, and we're building the energy, and then we have another. Yep. All these kind of sound designy things. I think we're in good shape here. Love the pulses. We're in good shape here. I would not do a same sub drop here. Wham! Just hit it. Don't do a sub drop, right? If the sound designer or if the editor wants another sub drop, they got all kinds of sub. But yeah, just let it float in space. We don't need 2 full measures of that, and make sure that your audio tail carries through. We kind of went down a little too. Hear how it kind of The audio tail just kind of ended. You want that to carry out. Throw some Realm Reverb or some Valhalla Supermassive. Just let that echo. And by the time we get to Act 3, we need more energy. Like fire everything. Like we need so much more rhythmic energy. And we kind of hinted at it because we have that happening. But by the time we get to here, we need an engine underneath it by the time we get to Act 3 here. Do be careful about flat topping. Things are getting kind of loud. Our peaks are safely at -1, but and it could be, you know, I did a normalization up to -1, but we need more energy here, and just be careful about slamming into your limiter too hard. But that having been said, these are trailers, and so you just need more energy. And let's make sure everybody gets to the end of this party together. Hear how it sounds a little mushy. It's like there's not a clean kind of a situation. And then we went to silence. Don't need that. We definitely don't want to just hard copy and paste it from the end, which is what I did, right? I grabbed this and then just plopped it right there. So you need to do something different with this. But I think that's a good ending. But Patrick, thank you so much for sending this along, man. I thought it was fantastic. We got a lot of good things happening here. I would want to listen to the references to about those synth strings to see if that's kind of getting us a little bit off, a little bit too analog-y, right? Too synthwavy, for lack of a better term. But Patrick, thank you so much for sending that along. All right, next up, we've got Frozen Lands from Keshkal. Arco asked in the chat, how do we submit to this? Over in the community, this was open to everybody. Appreciate you, Productio. This was opened up to all family, friends, and community members. This was opened up to everybody, but we had a post over there, and that's how you would post to that. Yep. Oh, and Mrs. 52Qs has it. But yeah, unfortunately, it's too late to post right now, but be sure that you're getting notifications and everything over at 52Qs because I made an announcement and a couple of announcements there. So yeah. Now, the weekly feedback that we do Tuesdays and Thursdays, that's for our family subscribers. And what we're doing here today is exactly what we do 2 times a week. And composers, the family members can submit 1 cue each week. And we do have some composers who submit practically every single week, and that's great. And we listen to revisions and so anyway. All right. So so let's check out Keshkal's Frozen Lands. He sent along. Wait, am I missing one? Miss Juju Beats, I see that we have orchestral dramedy cue, but I don't see the cue actually. I don't see the cue in the Dropbox. I see that you submitted the form for it, but I don't see that. So check that out. If you have it handy, go ahead and drop it in. We'll get that worked in because I do see the form submission. We had a Google form and everything. But in the meantime, let's listen to Frozen Lands from Keshkal. It says, beautiful textures of strings, woodwinds, and harp intertwine in slow motion as if time is standing still in an Arctic landscape. Well suited for nature documentary, sweeping drone shots of glaciers and polar regions, as well as TV dramas and emotionally charged cinematic scenes. That's a really good description. Maybe a little long. This was written for a Warner Chappell brief with nature and science theme. You know what? No, I think that'll work. Miss Juju Beats, when there was a link for you to actually post to the Dropbox, and I didn't see that. I saw the I've got the form, but I did not see the Dropbox submission. All right, so in the meantime, let's check out Frozen Lands. All right, that was Frozen Lands from Keshkau Claudio. Thank you so much for sending this along. Really enjoyed this. Love the strings, that kind of flautando. I'm imagining it sounds like we're using a lot of the, or not a lot, but some of the Spitfire, either their Iceni, is that the one? Or the ones like recorded just at the edge of silence, or some of the, the evolutions, the string evos, I thought were really, really well done. What's the leading silence, by the way? And I know it's kind of coming from Niente, but it was a little bit too much here. And I think we can sneak those in even more. And it might mean that we're actually, I mean, if you can't get the modulation or the expression to kind of come from Niente. Keshkau says it was British Drama Toolkit. Yep, cut from the same cloth, right? It's a lot of that. British Drama, is that, what is Olafur Arnold's, right? Is that one of his? Of course, he's Icelandic, isn't he? But yeah, I think these could kind of come from nothing a little bit more. I found the attacks a little distracting there at the top. And I like how like the harmonics kind of pop out. I think that's well done. Really, really nice work. Really digging this. Now I noticed that you put it, the BPM, I asked what the BPM was. It's not from Olafur. The British Drama Toolkit isn't from Olafur Arnold. All right. Said no BPM. It's very rubato, right? So this is very much kind of a free-flowing, not locked into a click, and I totally get that. However, I feel like it's a little unmoored from tempo, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it becomes challenging when we have multiple instruments kind of all happening at the same time. And I fear it feels a little busy, right? And even like if you would imagine, okay, I'm gonna need to score this, I'm gonna need to record this, and it might be like a conductor 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. They might be conducting like at 50 beats per minute or something like that, but it would still, even if it didn't sound on a grid or to tempo, it would be written and conducted to tempo. So my encouragement for something like this would be the same encouragement I would give somebody looking to write droning, ominous tension cues that need to sound like they are out of time. Still put it on a grid, and you can have it evolve very, very slowly, but this is going to bring some rhythmic cohesion to it so that it doesn't feel like everybody's kind of improvising all at the same time. You know what I'm saying? And so it just felt a little busy through here, and I'm worried that that would be a distraction. Now, the fewer instruments you have, then the more you can kind of get away with that. But if this were in a recording session, then there would have to be a conductor. They would all be listening to a click, and they might be playing, whole notes or double breves or whatever, but it would still be in time. So I would encourage you to think about that because it just feels a little improvised. And as far as the mood and the emotion and capturing, a brief, you says it's nature and science, 100%. You called it Frozen Lands. Perfect. Nailed the mood, nailed the emotion of the cue, the instrumentation, the harmonic choices, the rhythmic choices, all those things we said earlier, which are the levers we pull to define mood and emotion. Those are all there. But because it's not kind of locked into the click. By the way, my favorite moment of this whole cue. Love that. Can we have more of this kind of thing? That is like Realm or Supermassive or something. It has that sound designy, shimmery reverb. I loved that. Now later in the cue, we had some harmonic shift. And I'm like, why, brother, did we wait until 1 minute and 50 seconds right at the end? Yeah, that's Realm. Yeah, I thought I recognized it. More of that. I would come out of this section here into this harmonic change because I wrote, man, I feel like we really need some harmonic motion. It doesn't have to be much. It could just be going to this chord. You know, just have a little bit of variation, I think. And I'm not sure you need like this big, powerful ending. If this were mine, I would attach this a little bit more to this section and then end something that feels more delicate, more kind of, and we can add an edit point. So if an editor wanted to end it here, they could. But for something that has been so delicate to end on like a type of emotion, yeah, I almost wanted it to come back to this, like almost like a coda, kind of like we would for a trailer. But at the end of the day, man, I think this is fantastic. Really loved it, and you nailed it. You're absolutely spot on with that, Kashkal. So thank you so much for sending that along. Loved it, and this makes me want to rethink the British Drama Toolkit because that's really, really nice, man. That's really, really nice. All right, looks like we've got Ms. Juju Beats. Thank you so much. Glad we were able to get that along. So let's go ahead and take a listen, and then we'll circle back to Martin. Ms. Juju Beats sent along this cue is for consideration for the upcoming Halloween Hijinks Sync Accelerator brief. Have a feeling that I'm probably pushing it too far for a dramedy cue, but I appreciate the feedback. So let's take a listen to Hip Hop Pumpkin Pop. I like it. Whoops, that is more than one sound at a time. Sorry about that. All right, let's take a listen. All right, that was Hip Hop Pumpkin Pop from Ms. Juju Beats. Thank you so much for sending this along. Yeah, I like the vibe of this. Like it's got, yeah, I like that bump, but it's got a kind of a serious kind of hip hop vibe to it, and so I think it's working really, really well. These pizzicato strings though, they sound really kind of machine gun. And it's It's really, really loud. In general, it's really loud. We're dangerously close to flat topping, which means we're pushing really, really hard into the limiter. Yeah, watch some of the, yeah, you can see all of those frequencies really spike up. So we need to tuck back some of these highs. This vibe is cool. I'm not sure about that chord choice there. It gets like unexpectedly happy. And also the chord is kind of moving around. And so instead of the main motif, boom, bum, 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 kind of hovering around one space, it feels like it's jumping up and down with the chords. Might be an arpeggiator, and then you're revoicing the arpeggiator. That feels a little weird. I mean, that's like, I dig that. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about it. It goes pretty hard. But like if it didn't have pumpkin in it, I'm not sure I would hear it as a Halloween cue. Now, that doesn't mean you have to have theremin and you have to have and whoo. It doesn't mean you have to have all those tropes. But I mean, this could about work as just kind of a dark, intense kind of hip hop cue. Yeah, there's that cool drum fills. Those are all working really well. Yeah, it just doesn't feel Halloween-y enough. You know, the brief is called Halloween Hijinks, and the idea is that we're making Halloween dramedy cues, and this feels like a dark hip hop cue. Yeah, so at this point, you know, the choice is do we try to kind of wrangle it back to dramedy, or do we just kind of stay in what it is and put it in a drawer and wait for something that's looking for like kind of dark, more intense hip hop? Yeah, and we need a much stronger button at the end. So yeah, it's so intense, right? That I think it's too intense for kind of a hijinks kind of a vibe. Hip hop's fine. Lord knows, I love sprinkling hip hop beats and stuff like that in my cues. But yeah, it comes off, I think, a little overly aggressive. And like I said, if I didn't have the word pumpkin in the title, I'm not sure I would have known that it was Halloween. But I appreciate you sending that along, and it could be like slowing it down, add some like creaking doors and some wolf howls and that kind of thing. That might get us there. Lots of feedback for you there in the chat. Really appreciate everybody giving feedback in the chat. Super helpful. And so yeah. Y3Q3E says almost like a challenge cue. Yeah, well done. Really, really well done. And like I said at the beginning or earlier in the day, it takes no small amount of courage to put yourself out there. So a massive shout out to everybody who is sending cues here. So appreciate you, Ms. Juju Beats. Loves it. Ms. Juju Beats joins me along with a handful of other folks every Friday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern. We are doing live streams where I am writing music live for you to watch, and it's free to the community. All you do is you become a member of 52 Cues. It's free to join. You don't have to be a friend or a family member. We have a lot of other perks and benefits for those folks, but for the community, I do live streams every single Friday morning from 7 a.m. until 9 a.m. Every Friday, except for holidays or like if I'm on spring break or something like that. Some of the other events that we have in the community, we have Zoom office hours every Monday. That is for our family folks. We have Sync Accelerator Brief for our friends and family. And we have feedback sessions twice a week. We have master classes, tons more for you to check out. And so if you're watching this and you're like, wow, I like his beard, or I like what he's saying, or man, this would be really, really helpful, then why don't you think about joining us? It's free to join. Head over to 52cues.com, and we do have subscription tiers where you can get in on weekly feedback workshops where we have topics that we talk about. This coming Monday, we've got Randon Purcell, who is at the top of the trailer game, who's going to be joining us, and he's going to be listening to your trailer cues for our family and friends subscribers. We do workshops and we bring in guests every single month. I already mentioned the twice a week feedback sessions and Friday morning live streams. And that's not even counting the Cue review videos that you can check out, our Production Music Almanac, which is a living, growing ebook. And so there's a ton for you to check out. So if you like what you see and you want more of it, then head over to 52cues.com. We would absolutely love to have you. And ad segment over. So we are going to wrap up the day by listening to one from Martin Ader. Martin sent along Enjoy My Darling. He says, this cue is already quite old, so it's from past Martin. Back then, I was still learning how production music works. You can hear that in the cue. There are certain production music conventions, structure, edit points, etc., that are only partially present here. From today's perspective, I actually don't think the mixing and mastering are that bad, although there's probably still room for improvement. One of the challenges with this cue was combining the fixed vocal lines from the library with my melody. I'd be very interested to hear what you would change to turn this into a cue that meets today's standards. I'm not a native English speaker, so I'm not sure whether the title makes sense. It's supposed to express that my wife should enjoy the cue, which she definitely does every time she hears it. So this is Enjoy My Darling from Martin, and this is going to be the last cue we listen to today. Let's take a listen to it, then we'll talk about it. All right, that was Enjoy My Darling from Martin. Martin, thank you so much for sending this along. You mentioned like this was before you really started getting your brain around production music, and I think we're in pretty good shape here. Really like the finger picking guitar work here. I think this is really working. The vocals sound amazing. Now, Martin, I don't know if you're here in the chat. Love that the vocalist is fantastic. I think it could use much more reverb. I think it could be further down in the mix, and I would adjust some of the timing. Some of the entrances seemed a little back behind the beat, and I thought they were a little distracting. Yeah, so if we were to put this kind of onto the click, let's see what we got here. All right, so we're at... Yeah, see how it's late. And so you've got to anticipate that, slide it forward so the note blooms at the downbeat. But that's gorgeous, gorgeous. Now, the male vocal comes in later. And Productio, is that you? Are you Martin? If you said that, my apologies. Now, you said that these were vocal stems given to you by the library or by the company here. Trying to see, and personally, I found the male vocals distracting. They were distracting when they came in because it was almost like halfway through, like a minute in, and suddenly like shows up, and I thought it was distracting. And I thought it works really, really well. I would rather hear a female vocal play that. I like the line itself, but when the dude showed up, I was like, oh, well, bro, this ain't your gig, man. Why don't you have a seat? So that's just me, personal taste. So didn't really dig that. And there was a weird chord at 150. Let's see. Right there, that note feels weird. I don't know. It felt a little crunchy to me, but it works. The jazz, my graduate degree in jazz insists that I am okay with that chord. All right, let's talk about the strumming guitar. Now, Martin, you can be honest with us. Did you play that guitar, or is that MIDI guitar? The finger picking guitar, if that was MIDI, is pretty good. But this, I think, this screams MIDI. Hear how the chord changes? Pulled me straight out. It's like seeing bad CG in a movie. You're like, I'm on board. Like you're watching like Stranger Things series finale, and Vecna is like, rah, all those arms, and all of a sudden you see the kids like green screened on, and you're like, and I'm out. That's what I feel has happened here. I was so on board, and I felt like yeah, I'm here. Yep, I'm here for it. And then the MIDI guitar comes in, and I kind of womp. I would strip out the MIDI strummed completely all together. For one thing, it's fighting. It's in the same register as the finger picked. It's fighting with the finger picked guitar, and I feel like it's unnecessarily busy, and I did not like it. There were a couple of breaths as well. I think I would probably edit out. Like right there. Especially because she breathes in and then she's late. Yeah. Martin says, I'm a lousy guitarist. I hear you, man. I hear you. And if the fingerpicked guitar is MIDI, that's okay, because fingerpicked is a lot easier to kind of be convincing via MIDI, but strummed guitar is really, really tough because there are so many overlapping frequencies, and the way that the instrument responds, it's different than fingerpicked guitar. But I'm digging this. Another note as I had was it took way too long. It took way too long for low end. Like, we spend this whole time with like nothing really below 140 hertz. Got some low strings there, but when the bass shows up here, oh, finally something below 100 hertz. We need bass in, even if it's just a sub bass or a little sine wave or something like that. I would love to hear more bass. But at the end of the day, I think form and structure is good. It's really compelling. The finger picking's absolutely working for me. But at the end of the day, we've got something I think we could absolutely work up into production music shape. One thing that I would be careful on is checking out those vocal samples and Shazam them. You know, if they're from Splice or something like that, then depending on how much you edited them, could be a sticking point for editors. But really appreciate you sending that along, Martin. Thank you so much. And a huge thanks to everybody who sent along cues today. You know, we do these cue review live streams a couple of times a year. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I would love to join the next, like Arco. Man, get your notifications happening over at 52 Cues, because we do make announcements. And like I said earlier, if this is something that you think would be super valuable to have on a regular basis, then why don't you join us over at 52 Cues? It is free to join, but for our family subscribers, we do this a couple of times a week, all year long. So we would love to have you. So for everybody joining me here live on the live stream, thank you so much. Just know that I appreciate you, because none of this would be possible without your support, whether you're a paid subscriber or not. And if this is something that you like what we do here at 52 Cues, then why don't you go ahead and subscribe, and you'll be notified when we go live next time. Also, we do podcast episodes every single week. And what have we been thinking about the co-hosts? Really have enjoyed that. We've got more interviews coming up. We've got interviews with successful composers who pull in like 5 figures every quarter. We've got interviews with Warner Chappell, more Warner Chappell folks, and more. So that's all coming up here very soon in the community. But just know that I appreciate you. Thank you for spending part of your day here with me. But that is going to do it for me today. And just know, friends, that I know that you are going to have an amazing rest of your year, because I know that the universe has amazing plans just for you. Until next time, peace.